And welcome back in for episode number 2 of the Ball Boys podcast here on the College Kids Experience YouTube channel or the Follow the Action one. And now we're available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. Already growing come episode 2. And you can find us there at the Ball Boys. Wow. A lot's happened since our last episode, and it's only been a week. But, when you start a podcast during the NBA Finals, it's to be expected. Things might go down. And the Denver Nuggets won the NBA title in 5 games, my exact prediction. And we talked about this last week, and we were kind of in agreement that the Nuggets were just simply the better team. I felt like Miami throughout this playoff series had played maybe 3, maybe 4 teams that I would say were the better team. But there were really some behind-the-scenes, real-life stuff that prevented Miami from beating the Nuggets, and that didn't prevent them from beating Boston and Milwaukee. And when we look back at the Heat's run here, obviously Giannis getting hurt helped, but there was a little mental fortitude lapse for both the Bucks and the Celtics that wasn't going to be there for the Denver Nuggets, and that's why the Nuggets were able to win the title. I've said this over and over again on my personal channels, social medias, etc. Hard work beats talent every time, but when talent works hard, it's a wrap. It's a GG's, and that's what happened in these NBA Finals. The Nuggets went on to win. Jokic was clearly the best player on the court, rightfully won Finals MVP. It was great. I personally loved seeing Jamal Murray after the bubble, then the torn ACL, then people wondering, is the bubble a fluke? Get back to playing that level and reach the pinnacle. That was probably my favorite part about the Nuggets winning. Nolan, what's just your reaction to the Nuggets winning the title, and what was your favorite moment of it?
Yeah, bro. I mean, it was a series that, it was enjoyable to watch from the fans' standpoint, where it was two teams that we haven't really seen there. Obviously, the Heat were there in 2020, but I mean, it's been a while since we've seen a new team potentially kind of take over Dynasty. But it was a fun watch. I think the favorite game was probably Game 2. I mean, everybody's was probably Game 2.
No, mine was Game 5.
All right. But Game 2, I mean, it was because I honestly thought the Nuggets had a potential to sweep the series there. But Game 2 is awesome to watch. I mean, the Heat were down like 15, something like that. Even going to the fourth quarter, it was like 12 points, 10 points, and then Duncan Robinson just turned it up.
Yeah.
That was a fun watch, and it's awesome to see kind of Denver. They need like a team to really get the city back going with the sports town.
Yeah, today we're actually recording the day of the parade, and I mean, the turnout was just excellent for the parade there. Denver is a true sports city that a lot of people don't think of because it's kind of just smack in the middle of the country. It's not one of those coastal cities that gets all the love, but Denver, they're a sports town out there. And you mentioned Dynasty talk, and I think in today's society, we tend to overreact and jump through hoops and really jump to conclusions. Because when the Milwaukee Bucks won the title, they were the next dynasty. Giannis, Middleton, Drew Holiday, Brook Lopez. Who was stopping this team? And last year when the Warriors won the title, it was the dynasty's not dead. We're on to the next chapter. And now that the Nuggets have won the title, the Nuggets are the next great dynasty. Nobody's going to be able to compete. And I really think we may be gone in the NBA of the days of a dynasty, at least for the next 3 to 5 years. There is so much influx of talent, especially with the European players coming over, that it is going to be immensely hard to win 2 titles and go back to back. And for me personally, a dynasty, you have to win 3 in a 5-year span. That's to me a dynasty. Or you have to make 4 finals in a 5-year span. So those are my qualifications. Do I think Denver could do it? Sure. They're a very talented team. They just won the title. They have the best player in the world in Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray showed that he's at an all-star level. And Michael Porter Jr., KCP, Aaron Gordon, those guys are under contract for the next 2 years. The core is there. However, they had an easier path this year than I think that they would next year. And again, this is no shot at the Nuggets. You play who's in front of you. I firmly believe that. I'm not discrediting their run by any means. You're in the 1 seed. You get to play the Minnesota Timberwolves. Excellent. You get to play a Suns team that has no depth, and Chris Paul, an aging point guard. Shocker, gets hurt. DeAndre Ayton plays himself out of the series. No surprise. Then you get a Lakers team who was a 7 seed, but we all know that they were better than a 7 seed by playoff time. The problem? LeBron James, old, dealing with injuries. Anthony Davis, always dealing with injuries. And that team had been only together since the trade deadline and had basically been playing playoff level basketball since the trade deadline to catch up. They were worn out and tired, and you saw it in that series. Then when you get to the finals, you get an 8 seed with Jimmy Butler, who last episode, I said it, he's not a good enough guy to be a 1 on a title team, and look who was right. Next year, it's not going to be that easy. Phoenix is going to come back reloaded. Memphis, who knows what their deal is going to be with Ja. The Kings will be another year together. If this Lakers team runs it back, they likely won't be climbing from a 7 seed. The Warriors could retool. And then out east, the Bucks and Giannis on a revenge tour. The Celtics, whatever they do, if they made it, I still think they would have been a tougher matchup. Miami could go get a star. Let's pump the brakes on a Denver dynasty. Do they have the players that they could do it? Sure, but I'm not ready to anoint them quite yet.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it on the head. The West is a beast and a half, and you didn't even mention the OKC Thunder, the Pelicans. I mean, Zion, we don't know about, but they could be an emerging team coming out of nowhere. And like you said, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the next couple of years. Jokic, he's been talking about wanting to go home with his donkeys and horses, and like you don't know where he'll be in like maybe 2 years. So it's definitely, I think if they were in the East, I'd be more favorable to pronounce them maybe as a dynasty, possibly. But in the West, it's just so hard, bro. Like there's so many teams, and you never even know. Next year there could be 2 more teams that out of nowhere from the West, like after free agency and the draft.
Yeah, the West is loaded. We know this, and these teams are going to retool. And we didn't even mention if the Clippers stayed healthy, Luka Doncic and the Mavericks, who's the third best player in the world, what's going to happen? There's so much talent. And I said 3 to 5 years because I think when the next NBA media deal is up, they're going to expand. They're going to have to. There's going to be too much talent. And these new CBA rules are really going to make it difficult for teams to have 3 stars. You're basically going to have 2 and role players. The market's going to be reset. Bradley Beal won't be getting those type of contracts anymore. Good for him that he signed when he did. But the NBA's got some serious changes coming that are going to affect a lot of rosters. And Dynasty is a long ways away for Denver. But congrats to them on their title win. Well deserved. Now, I do want to ask you, Nikola Jokic now. There was a lot of doubt around him going into the start of this season. A lot of the advanced analytics said he was one of the best players ever. He didn't see the postseason success. Now he joins elite company with 2 MVPs, a title, and a finals MVP. Where do you have this guy all time?
That's a tough question. Like you said, a lot of people are prisoners in the moment, and it's tough to really navigate that ranking right now. But I would say I would probably have him all time top. I'll go top 40. I think 40 is reasonable. A lot of people I've seen top 15, top 20. I don't. I have to see more. I mean, like you said, the MVP's finally got his ring. That's what it's all about, rings. So I want to see longevity, how long he could last, numbers wise. I mean, he obviously could do it. And like we said just now, I mean, if the Nuggets are a dynasty and they could win even just one more, I would probably put him probably top 15. I think if he could get one more, I think it'd be that number.
Yeah, for me, I tweeted it out. I'm not sure if you saw or not. I have him clear as day, top 25 at this point. 2 MVPs, a finals and a finals MVP. For me, obviously, we have to assume there's a little bit of assumption that goes into this ranking that maybe he won't win again, but his career numbers are going to kind of just pan out similar to what they are. And obviously, you can get into trouble making assumptions like that with people that ranked Kawhi really high, and now it's like he hasn't played in 4 years. But Jokic seems like a pretty durable player, at least he has been thus far. So I have him top 25. I have him ahead of guys at this point like Charles Barkley, Kevin Garnett. He's past those guys. You win 2 MVPs, And he's seriously, and when people hear this initially, if they don't think about it, their knee jerk reaction might be to be mad. But he's in that category of your Dwayne Wade's, Dirk Nowitzki's at this point. Compare the resumes. Dwayne Wade, 3 titles, no MVPs, only 1 finals MVP. Jokic, 2 regular season MVPs, 1 title, 1 finals MVP. I don't have him quite above Wade yet, but he's right next to Dirk.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what they're at. Jokic, 2 regular season MVPs to Dirk's 1. They both have 1 title and 1 finals MVP. If I asked you which player you'd want, you'd pick Jokic, a guy who could run a whole offense. He's a better rebounder than Dirk. He's a better passer than Dirk. Now, Dirk's a better scorer, so maybe you take it depending on team build. But that is the conversation that needs to be had right now. Jokic, Dirk, 2 foreign, big, all-time forward centers. You know, I hate just grouping guys together that fit the same foreign bill, but that's where they're at right now, career-wise. For me, Jokic is on a trajectory to enter a top 15, potentially, if he wins enough, a top 10 career with his play style. But we're going to move gears here. We're going to go to the NFL. Your Jalen Hurts background for our YouTube viewers. You know, sure they love to see that. But we're not talking about the Eagles. We're talking about the Buffalo Bills because there was some what the hell is going on in Buffalo this past week. So just to recap, Wednesday is today. Today's what? Thursday. Today's Thursday. So Monday of this week, Stephon Diggs, not at minicamp, not practicing. Sean McDermott says he's concerned. Then, the next day, Stephon Diggs is at minicamp. Everything's good. You know, Sean McDermott says, oh yeah, it's all fine. But they cancel practice as a team the next day. And this is coming off of a postseason game where Stephon Diggs was seen berating Josh Allen on the sideline. Sean McDermott has been on the hot seat. He's a defensive coach in the NFL, which the NFL is kind of going away from at this point. There's a real lack of postseason success there for Buffalo. And they've almost gone backwards now. They made that AFC championship versus Kansas City. They didn't get the job done. Then in the second round 2 years ago, KC, again, steals their hearts with that 13-second left on the clock. Too much time for Patty Mahomes.
Wow.
Last year, they lose in, round 1? No, round 2. Sorry, they barely beat Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins on Wild Card Weekend, and then at home get shelled by the Bengals and Joe Burrow. They have declined success-wise the past 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was going to save my hot take here, but I'm already on a roll. The Buffalo Bills window is closed. With the current setup that they have, it's closed. It's not to say that they can't win a title with Josh Allen in town, because I believe this guy's got a long career. But Sean McDermott will have to be fired first. Stephon Diggs may need to find a new home. They'll certainly need to get a running game. But this season, Buffalo is not one of my Super Bowl contenders. In a loaded AFC, I'll take the Chiefs over them. I'll take the Bengals over them. I'll take the Ravens over them. And, you know, we continue to go. I might mess around and take the Chargers over them. The Dolphins could very well win that division. You know, I know you're a big Jets guy, so maybe Aaron Rodgers. I just think the Bills window is closed, and I think it's more likely this season that they miss the playoffs than win the Super Bowl.
I mean, you hit it on the head, bro. I even said last year after that round 2 performance, McDermott has to go. Like you said, the NFL is pretty much geared towards the offense, and they just haven't been able to get it done. Obviously, McDermott, he's from the Eagles, Andy Reid, so I got a lot of ties towards him, you know, so no bad blood, but they got to do that, you know, because like you said, like Josh Allen is in his prime, and they have not addressed the main problem with that team, which is the O-line. And I have no clue why they haven't. They've been signing other guys, D-line especially. And, you know, Stephon Diggs, he was having a whole meltdown during that Bengals game. And I get it, but, I mean, it's tough, because the Bills, that fan base is awesome. They deserve at least a Super Bowl appearance, but I just don't see anytime soon that happening. I mean, you got the franchise quarterback, and that's the hardest thing to do, and they just refuse to help him out.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean, the
gonna be
situation in
crazy.
Buffalo just isn't great. And if they were in the NFC, then yeah, the window's still open because the NFC right now is in a very transitional state. But in that loaded AFC, it's gonna be real uphill sledding for Buffalo if they can't figure it out.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the Jets division.
Yeah, I listen, I don't know what the money is on that right now. What are they like plus 800 to win the division probably?
No, it's not that bad. I think it was plus 270. I'm pretty sure around there, 280.
Wow. To me, it's not good value, but when we get closer to NFL season, I'll let you make your case. Um, I like Aaron Rodgers. I like the team. It's a rough schedule to start the year. It's a rough schedule to learn your team. But I want to talk a little bit about some NBA. Um, Two major guys could be on the move this offseason. And the rumors started real quick this postseason. I mean, what was it? 2 days after the NBA Finals ended, we're already getting offseason rumors. And the draft is about a week and a half, 2 weeks out of the NBA Finals. So moves are to be made. Zion Williamson and Bradley Beal. And I want to start with Bradley Beal just because I think it's more likely that Beal gets moved. I think it's more likely than not that Beal moves, and I think it's less likely that we see Zion move. But I think that the Pelicans may be leaking this to kind of, hey, Zion, like, get your ass in shape. Like, we're not above moving you if we have to. Your potential is only worth so much when we feel that we have a win now roster, which the Pelicans certainly do. But when it comes to the Wizards, their franchise, I don't know if it was the GM or owner, said, we'll work with Bradley Beal to trade him if we feel we're going in a rebuilding direction. What other direction are you going in at this point? Kyle Kuzma's opting out. Kristaps Porzingis, another guy from that Wizards team that might be moved. But Bradley Beal, he is one of the only, I think he might be the only guy in the NBA to have a no trade clause. So this guy gets some say in where he goes. So, the teams at the top of my list are the Miami Heat, of course. We know that they're in the market for an additional piece. The Philadelphia 76ers, because I don't think Bradley Beal's price is going to be that high. I think Tobias Harris and a first or second round pick seriously could be enough to get the job done. However, the Sixers have kind of come out and said that they're out on Beal. They're focused on James Harden, which we can get your reaction to that as a Sixers fan in a second. As well, we have the Kings. I think the Kings are a sneaky team to land Bradley Beal, but I love the fit. Kevin Huerter did not play great in the postseason this year. He plays that two guard. Bradley Beal's a clear upgrade. De'Aaron Fox is getting better. Sabonis, hopefully he could show form. Keegan Murray will be getting better. Add Bradley Beal to that mix. I think the Kings could really be contending for the number one seed in the West throughout the regular season. Are they a postseason team? Time will tell. But I think Bradley Beal to the Kings is what I'm rooting for.
I mean, you took exactly what I was going to say. I think the Kings, Woj tweeted
We're
about
just
that.
really on the same page today, folks.
It's we were even talking about stuff earlier, and like without even talking about it, we kind of had a similar visions about things. We'll talk about later, but
Yeah.
especially with the Kings, bro, the pick and roll with Sabonis and Beal, that would be an amazing fit. And it's tough because you look at the Heat, and I think the Heat are probably option number one, and I think it would be crazy to have him on the team because I think he'd be awesome. And for the price that they get him, it's going to be nothing.
I mean, the price would be Duncan Robinson and Kyle Lowry. Like, I
Yeah.
think that the Wizards would be willing to take salary dumps, contracts that are going to end in 1 year, and some
Mhm.
draft compensation to get off of Beal. That
Yeah, because
contract is disastrous. I mean, he gets paid, I think it's $57 million in 2 years' time.
yeah,
Bradley Beal is good, but with this new CBA, that contract, if you're trading for him, you better be expecting to win in the next 2 years.
it's a horrible contract, and I think that's why the Heat. It's tough because if you're the Heat, do you give up more pieces to give up to get Damian Lillard, or do you go after Bradley Beal and not give as many players that you have, and you have Spoelstra, and he's going to give the most out of Beal.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Miami, it's got to be Dame first. But the reports are coming out that Portland wants to build around Dame. I'll believe
Yeah,
it when I see it. Like Portland, and I don't mean to go on a different tangent here, but if you're Portland and you're trying to convince me that you're trying to build around Dame, then let me see that number 3 pick get traded, because
yeah,
that's building around Dame. Go get another guy to pair with him. And Anthony Simons is cool, but
mhm,
package his ass out of there too. Why don't you go get Bradley Beal? Why don't you go get a big man that's on the market? Not that it's this big ordeal that I think is really going to happen, but if the Wizards are selling Porzingis and Beal, go give them Simons in the number 3 pick. Or there's
yeah.
got to be another big man on the market somewhere. Go trade for Beal and sign Brook Lopez in free agency. You need to prove to me that you actually want to build a team around Damian Lillard. He has more patience than I do, because I would have been out of there the year after I signed that super max contract, got all my money tied up, and I would have pulled a Bradley Beal. What he's doing right now, he signed that huge contract last offseason. Now he's got his bag, played out another year where he's king of the city in Washington. He's like, maybe I'll go
Mm.
live in Miami, compete for titles, and get 50 million a year. Like, what a dream scenario.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it's crazy because for the last, like you said, the last 5 years or so, like Dame and the Blazers, like they just are on two separate spectrums compared to the rest of the NBA. And I mean, they're in prime position right now. They have the third overall pick. You have Dame, who might want to be traded. You have all these options, and I'm just so curious to kind of see next Thursday how this all plays out, especially with Beal. We're going to be talking about Zion next. There's a lot of guys that could be on the move, and I think the main reason, because the free agency class is just so weak this year,
Yeah.
I think we're seeing this kind of
And the
move.
draft is so strong this year, though,
Yeah,
that I think a lot of the moves are going to happen earlier.
yeah,
Don't be shocked if we see the big moves happen right at draft night, right before it, or 2 to 3 nights after it. I think that's when a lot of these big moves are going to happen. And whatever team doesn't make any moves, that's the team to keep an eye on for Kyrie Irving. That's what I'll say at that. But on draft night, after the first pick is Victor Wembanyama, that's when the show starts.
yeah.
Because we got the Hornets at pick 2, who the Pelicans are rumored to love Scoot Henderson.
Mm-hmm.
The number 2 pick for Zion. You get Zion in Charlotte, pair him with LaMelo Ball. Talk about a show in Charlotte. Zion from North Carolina, I believe. Zion Williamson, a Jordan Brand athlete. Listen, I have a full video coming out on my channel about this tomorrow, so I'm going to save a little bit for there. But Zion to Charlotte, that's something I need to see. I need to see Zion in Charlotte with LaMelo. I don't think it will happen, but if the Pelicans are seriously in love with Scoot Henderson, it can happen. Or if all reports say that Miller's going to go number 2 to the Hornets, guess what? Now the Blazers are on the clock at 3.
Yeah.
Scoot Henderson's on the board. You want to prove that you're committed to winning with Dame? Go pair him with Zion Williamson, a guy who in his NBA career, his biggest concern has been health, no doubt about it. But when he's out there, he is literally the most efficient scorer of all time. He
Yeah,
averages 26 points per game on 60% shooting. That
it's
is
crazy.
better than Shaquille O'Neal numbers. This guy is a walking bucket when he's out there. Again, I don't believe that the Blazers are sold on winning with Dame. I think they've had one foot in the door, one foot out for about 2 years now. And Dame's just such a guy to the city that they can't kick him out. They're just hoping he'd leave. And they're just standing there holding the door. And Dame's like, yeah, so anyways, and sitting on their couch. That's where they're at right now. But I want to just reel it back into Bradley Beal real quick. If it's not the Heat and it's not the Kings, what's the surprise third team? Because the Sixers said that they're out. And I'm sure, you know, I know that a lot of Sixers fans are mad at the team if they bring back James Harden. Here's what I'll say. James Harden was great during the regular season. Okay. And in that postseason run, did he have a bad game seven versus Boston? Yes. But James Harden also won you two of the three games that you won against Boston with 40-point performances.
Mhm.
Joel Embiid is the guy who deserves the criticism for that loss. He needs to improve his game. He needs to show off that he's 7 foot, and when he's playing against a 6'8 center and Rob Williams and old ass Al Horford, get in the post and back down these guys. Okay, you need to have a post game if you're Joel Embiid. Everybody's compared this guy to Hakeem Olajuwon his whole career. Well, let's see you do some post work then. As well, Tyrese Maxey is a guy that a lot of Sixer fans believe in. So if he takes another step, now you're looking at James Harden as your third guy. If you can make a Tobias Harris move that just gets you some additional depth pieces, I don't think it's necessary to blow it all up. And having Harden's playmaking is a huge asset to this team.
Mhm.
So if Beal's not going to Philly, and Philly's in a fine spot keeping Harden, he's not going to Miami, he's not going to the Kings. What's a surprise team that you could see coming out and grabbing Beal?
Bradley Beal. I think a team I think that could use him, and I think that I I want to say the Knicks.
Yeah, the
I
Knicks are in
think
the market,
I think the Knicks need that superstar,
and you
and
could
I think
send Julius Randle's bum ass out of town.
yep, and they need a shooter, bro. Like you saw during the Heat series, they were clanking like threes like it was nobody's business, and I
Yeah,
think Beal on that team would be a huge upgrade to that fan base. They would
and we
be
saw
pumped.
Jalen Brunson. He needed help.
Yeah,
If they had Bradley Beal instead of Julius Randle, they beat the Heat.
I think so too. Yeah, and I'm a huge Brunson guy. I think he's super underrated, even after this last postseason. And I think if you paired him with Bradley Beal and maybe some other pieces, I think they could make a lot of noise in the East.
Yeah, I'll finish off with this in terms of the Bradley Beal discussion. A lot of teams, Bradley Beal will fit on fit wise. Just remember what that CBA is and the fact that you're taking Bradley Beal at, I believe, 31 years old. When that CBA hits,
Hmm.
either your team's paying a shit ton of luxury tax
Yep.
or you're getting used to the idea of him as your second best player. Just remember what you're signing up for at the end of that contract. That's where I'll leave that at. We're actually going to shift gears to the diamond tier. Baseball season's about to be in full swing. Personally, it's not that I don't pay attention, but I don't put as much stake in what I see in April and May in baseball. If your team doesn't have their shit together by the middle of June, end of June, coming around 4th of July, you're probably out of it, and that's when you start to be sellers. Lucky for you, the Philadelphia Phillies, they're doing it again. And, you know, I'm not a Phillies fan, as we mentioned in the first episode. I am a Yankees guy. But I called this last year with the Phillies. And it was one of the more viral clips that I had on TikTok where I predicted the Phillies to go to the World Series. And this was back before the playoffs had started, and they were going to be a wild card team. They have the pieces that nobody wants to run into them in a 5 or 7 game set. But in the regular season, there's going to be bumps. There's not a ton of depth on this team. Any injury really screws them over. The starting pitching, it's hot and cold. And we saw that at the beginning of the year. This team's starting to find its way, though. June Kyle Schwarber showing up. Nick Castellanos is looking good. Trey Turner's coming back around. Ranger Suarez is starting to pitch good for this Phillies team. Bryce
Oh,
Harper, I believe he had a couple RBIs today as we're recording this. The Phillies are looking hot. And before I just send it to you to talk about them, I want to talk about this potential trade prospect that I was on a baseball podcast last night, and we were talking about this. Shane Bieber, rumored to be on the move. The Phillies, they'd probably have to give up some depth in terms of prospects to get him. And a name that I'm seeing rumored is Painter, who, if you're an in-depth Phillies fan, that's their number one pitching prospect. But you were just in the World Series last year. Do you sacrifice that young depth to go out and get a Bieber to try and make it back when you know this roster is good enough, or do you hold pat tight with the ship and potentially fall to a team like the Braves or the Astros, who's just that one piece above you again?
It's tough, bro. Because when you come to October baseball, pitching is king. And Bieber he's a guy that, we've been looking at the past month, and especially with the Phillies, bro. Like Aaron Nola has just been super wishy-washy. And he's been wanting a fat contract after this year, and I don't know what's gonna happen in that situation. So he's gotta play really good. Otherwise, it's not gonna happen because he's not doing too hot. Um, but when it comes to Bieber, I think I I I I would say no. I think when it comes to Painter, he's a young guy. We're a pretty relatively older pitching staff. We have Wheeler. He's not young. Nola's there. Suarez is there, and he's been super good. I mean, he's been looking like our ace, honestly. And then after that, it gets very bleak.
Yeah,
So Bieber would help, but I don't see us I just don't see the vision for it. But I would understand it. Like I totally get it. When you come to October baseball, you need that pitching staff.
yeah.
However,
Bieber has struggled in the postseason in the
yeah.
past, however, but it's good, as a fan that you could
So
positively spin whatever happens.
so I did see actually today something else came up regarding a trade, and I think this one sounds a little more juicy to me. So the name on the market, it's not a pitcher. He's actually a first baseman. Obviously, with Hoskins not there, I mean, we have a huge void, and was awesome last postseason run. Is it possible that the Phillies could maybe get Paul Goldschmidt? That's
For
been
the YouTube crowd, you saw the reaction there. If you were on Spotify or Apple Music, me and Nolan just gave each other the "oh really now" look, if I could describe it.
yeah, bro. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt in that lineup, bro. I mean, that I think you would give up Painter for. I think you have Paul Goldschmidt with Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Schwarber. Castellanos is playing awesome this year.
I mean, that's
Bryce,
just an NL All Star team. I mean,
yeah,
we
honestly,
might need to fact check it, but if I go back and look at the NL All Star team last year, that's like what, four or
they
five of the guys that were on it. I mean, you look at Turner, brought him over from the Dodgers. Goldschmidt could be coming from the Cardinals, former MVP. Yeah, that's definitely juicier. Yeah, and the Cardinals, they're a team that they fell off a cliff. A lot of
after
people had
that,
high expectations for them, and they are not succeeding.
after we shouted them last October, I mean, I don't know what they've
Yeah,
fallen
I
off.
mean, you broke them. You guys broke them.
Yeah.
So as we continue into the baseball season, we're certainly going to talk more about it, but had to do a little Phillies note there. We're going to close out today's episode with something a little new. We're going to be doing an NFL all-time jersey draft. I mean, we're talking the crispiest of looking jerseys here, and begrudgingly, I'm going to give Nolan the first pick in this draft, although I certainly know where he's going to go with it. It's the obvious 101. But we are doing a snake draft. Nolan, what jersey are you taking first here?
Hey, we've seen pictures. It's coming out next month. The Kelly Greens are sleek. They
Yeah,
are
yeah,
Mike Vick, I think that was his first game. Actually, like kind of he came in after I think was it Kevin Cobb? I think it was in 2010.
let's not talk
Um,
about
out
those
in
years.
yeah, came out in halftime and he suited up in those Kelly Greens, bro, and he just flew, bro. And I think they do look a little different this year. I'm excited to see the kind of format and how they look, But Jalen Hurts in that one jersey, automatic cop.
Yeah,
And I haven't had an Eagles jersey cop in a long time, and I think it might be coming.
yeah, that was certainly the 101. For two guys that are Eagles fans, like that shouldn't be a shocker to anybody at all. I'm glad that we're doing the snake here. It gives me some type of resemblance to come back from that. With my 101, taking the old school powder blue Charger jerseys. You could just see LaDainian Tomlinson running down the field for 30 touchdowns in them right now. I mean, those jerseys are crisp. They are some crispy jerseys. And I'm going to follow that up with another returning throwback jersey. I'm taking the Creamsicle Buccaneer jerseys. Not one that comes to the top of mind for people always, but they are some crispy, nice jerseys. I just wish we would have gotten to see Tom Brady playing them.
Yeah, yeah, no, they're saucy. For my second pick, I'm gonna roll with the throwback Dolphins white jerseys. I
Okay,
think,
clean.
yeah, they are super clean, and the helmet too. Like with the whole outfit going on, that's a pretty uniform there. So I'll go with that. And for my third, I want to take a dark horse, which is, I don't know, really say dark horse, but I think the Seattle Seahawks neon greens. I think those are pretty nice. I know they get a lot of hate, but I think they just, they really make your eyes pop. And I think that's what makes a good jersey.
Yeah, I think you taking the Seahawks neon green jersey there, either one you or lost you the draft, depending on what audience this gets pushed out to, because I'm one of those guys that hates them. They just look like a highlighter to me. They wouldn't have been on my list, but I do know that they are widely loved. When I do Madden leagues with my friends, some people will
Mhm.
pick the Seahawks just to have those uniforms.
I'm telling you.
It won't be me, but some people will pick those unis. Now, I'm in a real tough spot here because there's a couple jerseys that come to mind, but I don't want to just keep going old school. I got to play to the little bit of the younger audience here. This is going up on the socials on TikTok, and I'm going to take the newly introduced last season, the white Cincinnati Bengals
Oh
jerseys,
my God, bro.
the all white with the tiger stripes. Oh,
Uh,
crispy, crispy. And I'm also going to take a classic, just your regular old, when you think of this team, you think of this jersey, New England Patriots, navy, blue. It's classic. And you think of winning because of all the winning that Tom Brady did in those jerseys.
So to kind of even out my list, I gotta have some old school, not old school, but some pristine jerseys.
Yeah,
So I
you
got
already got the 8-year olds with that
yeah,
highlighter jersey.
exactly. So I'm gonna do two teams iconic: Pittsburgh Steelers, Green Bay Packers. I think those two jerseys are so iconic.
And with Pittsburgh, which jerseys are we talking?
The black ones.
Okay, Pittsburgh black
Packers,
ones.
I'll say green. Hey, my list is pretty green.
Yeah.
No,
If somebody's favorite color is green, we know
oh.
what team they're on.
So I think so. Yes, I got Packers, Steelers, like super green Seahawks, throwback Dolphins, and the Kelly Green Eagles.
Yeah. And I'm going to close my list out with the Pittsburgh jersey that you should have taken, the Bumblebee jerseys.
Oh, those are
Yeah,
terrible,
the
bro.
Bumblebee jerseys, number 5. They may be controversial, but at number 5 on the list, I think it's good value. And you went over your list. Let me go over mine. Powder blue Chargers. We got the orange creamsicle Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We got the all white Cincinnati Bengal jerseys, the plain New England Navy, and to close it out, the Bumblebee Pittsburgh Steelers. Be sure to let us know in the YouTube comments who won this draft. If you'd like to see something like that, we could bring it back again. We're going to be doing a lot of games to end these episodes. I enjoyed the draft there. Another successful episode of the Ball Boys podcast. We're going to be posting these live every single Friday for you, looking around 9, 10 a.m., trying to get your weekend started off right with some sports content. Make sure you check us out. Rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the College Kids Experience on Twitter if you like winning sports bets. Follow us on Twitter if you like reading mediocre sports takes. But until next time, we'll catch you guys later.
Peace.